have little to no time to reflect upon because we're too busy dealing with the waves of the persistent demands placed upon all of our survival necessities, imperatives, vernaculars, many of which diverge with great urgency into realms where we collectively put our paranoia and faith and trust and childhood and the fate of all of our species' existence, one tribe and another, and crap happens to everyone in its own perfectly legitimate way all over the world every day. And we just go on like nothing matters. So thank you for that, by the way. I've written a first line of a poem that I really want to say out loud. And I will tell you that when I'm writing, it's not really worth writing anything. And it can be creative as I need it to be. If I doesn't, this is a moment to be just extra truthful. You know, creativity is extra truthfulness. I don't acquaint it with the theater or playing a character, which is why I prefer poetry to theater in the first place. We hath long awaited truth. I put a poem into one of my first novels, actually. We hath long awaited. We have long awaited. What do we wait for the most? What have I waited for the most today? We hath long awaited truth. With aught its soothing, strength, and love. And this Scottish poet, fisherman dude, told me, when you read people poetry, don't say anything right after. Give them a couple seconds to process it for effect. It's like, oh, okay. Don't talk right after. Take your time, rest. This song hath long awaited thee, who art so pure and strong and free, that when I touch myself, I think of thee, and know that all shall be well, as long as I have enough of my seed to make me happy. The heron's still there. I've just eaten. That's another thing. I just ate a lot of food and it was like, by the ocean is so enormous. I'm trying to decide now if I should continue on and risk disturbing the heron or what. I think keep moving because I'm going to get chilly soon. I was going to say, try to be quiet. Okay. Okay, you know what? I will smoke now. I just feel like, you know, I will stop to smoke some marijuana. I will make the ultimate sacrifice. The ultimate hero. Have you ever felt some sadness for the animals that you eat? Have you ever wondered at your food when it's suckled at the teat and grazed on such verdant land, whose people calmed our hearts, that even as they ate that grass, we hungered for their body parts. In truth, there's spirit in the flesh. Their love to feed our kind. Their people lowing o'er these hills to feed the human mind and know compassion, highest human nature where they low. People should eat animals, and if you respect the animals you eat, so that you're strong enough and nourished enough not to feed on people. When people have enough food and love, and the earth's food is offered with love, and you have that and you accept it as love, and you get enough love, hopefully, we try, maybe we never really succeed, so you don't have to feed on other people. And any way that people have a way to walk and live and grow and think, they can have a way to feed on something. I've been accused of trespassing on someone's expected nourishment from me. So at the same time, when you invariably interrupt the ability of someone, say of the opposite sex, to feed on you or to be adequately nourished by you, they will feel uninhibited and compelled or angered into what? Feeding on you. Their pain, such as they imagine that you have caused it, is that of the pain of their hunger for the love and the nourishment that they may not have gotten or never have at or beyond critical stages of their lives. And that is the fact. But it is very difficult to put it into words. And so people get away with it every time and make their victims feel like they've done something wrong. And that you should expect someone to feed on you because you first fed on them. And they say, hey, you fed on me. You didn't give me the food you're supposed to. Fuck you. Right? And it happens. It happens. And the people in these states, the women or the men in these states, right? They are what they should, you should expect that. These are overflows of industrial poisoning. And the economics from which no one can ever be properly nourished. Do you understand? Economics alone does not nourish people. The economic world is not about nourishing humans. It's not like the teat of your mother. You just don't go from tit to the labor market. It seems like maybe it's raining all the love you could ever need. I've met working people like, I don't need my mom. I've got my job. I can buy myself whatever I want. But lo and behold, you can't buy a mother's love. And a mother's love is worth any amount of money. I'm not trying to make a specific point for and against making money. I'm just trying to state pat facts of life. Including, and not excluding, if only for economic purposes, what needs, because they're human, before they're an industrial or economic instrument. Here we go. So, I'll try to smoke, try to be more elegant in my movements. Like the heron, we're fishing for wisdom. Had to be patient. The heron are not predatory. It's interesting things about human territoriality. Listening to this one about dogs. They only become territorial, he said, when they don't have the right focus for their energy. So if they can't protect, they'll protect something unreal, something they don't need to be protecting. You're protecting anything, and your mind's not working properly, and you don't have the right leadership. Whatever you feel you need to protect, people are more likely to become what? Territorial. Now, you something. You could ask anyone who's beat someone up or hurt someone their time and say, "Why did you do that?" I just thought I needed to protect something. Oh, my heart trembles to think of what I've noticed, seen, and beside humans doing when they were doing something wrong or cannibalizing me. They consumed quite easily, with little to no notification by those around me, that I deserve this treatment. Because even as they're watching a woman do something to me, their brain is mirroring her attitude, which says, "You did something to me. You, Landon, did something to me. You have deprived me that you were supposed to give me and make me feel. And you haven't done that. Why, as an animal, have you not that you're going to give me what I expect to get from you?" You can see why sexual abuse from women would not feel comfortable giving that person certain things, right? Look what they do with what you've already given them. They need to be near you, right? And so you do see by wow, that dog definitely smells me. Wow. That dog is the perfect noise for what I'm talking about. It's like, whoa. So once a woman's mind gets to barking and growling like a dog, there's nothing you can do. And the chances are 99 times out of 100, whatever man she's directing that energy to, any male or female in the area, are going to automatically mirror her attitude in order to protect themselves from it. They will immediately become participants in the violence to that person. And I don't want to tell you all the stories I can tell you about watching human neurological mirroring of violent behavior of women, children, and the mirroring of white men and women of different ages when a child is abused in public. That compounds any violence happening, magnifying the suggestion that the child deserves to be treated this way because they must have done something first and there's something wrong about the way they're behaving. And if you only knew that this victim of sexual abuse from a woman has done to me and deprived me of, right? Let's say your child deprives you of a certain sanctity that you were expecting down at the beach, and so you hit them over the head. What would you say you were wanting from your child that was unreasonable so that they never cry? You want a child that never cries? Then you shouldn't have had a child. You want a child that behaves always the way you want them to? You shouldn't have had a child. A child that never embarrasses you in public? You shouldn't have a child. You shouldn't have had a child. You know what? They're wild humans, man. Getting a wild human. Don't try to unwild them, right? Become a better person. That's the positive way to go, right? They're not the problem. You're the problem. Okay? After 5 years of age, we're all going to be the problem to whatever child or bastard we sire. That's the way the economics works. Learn not to be a problem for your children, right? But the thing is that economically speaking, you're supposed to be a problem. The difference between a so-called poor and rich family, regardless of economics, is whether or not people are better or not at getting their children to suffer the problem supposed to be to them, because they are such a problem to you until they're not your problem anymore. And it's their job to not be a problem to you. How many homes have to at best succeed at teaching their children that in order to make sure they're good debt earners, good economic instruments, good souls, if there's a heavenly dimension, good workers, good working demons, good orphans. And we're going to have to orphan you to make you as good as you can be, which is going to be the best orphan you can be once we get you to be a good financial instrument. A working orphan, living dead person. You have to serve the economic world and the culture of the living dead. It's black magic, right? A soul is a dead person. Souls are all dead, right? The living dead are people with souls. People who develop enough of an irritation, a fire for God. The fire for God is the fire for your job, the fire for being someone in every economic imagination. Advancement or reduction for the sake of evolution. It's supposed to be. That's fact. That's economic fact. That's the biological, economic, psychological fact of all economic culture. I mean, to ignore that is to be like a willful moron at best. It's obvious to anyone with an IQ over 55. Everybody knows this. You know, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Wow, it's quite something. Makes me want to pee. So irritating. There's a road to the road. Bench Hill Way. In my mind, precisely these alcoholic dynamics and the cults where they took place thousands of times in where feels right. I can't adequately explain it to a child, and how you're not, especially as a victim, not supposed to really on the full impact. In a sense, people who are in violence aren't supposed to understand what that impact means and what it says. And it says probably the opposite of what you would think a violent person is trying to say. Right? So when the alcoholic says, "You're not a person," they're really saying, "I'm a sick person." And they're saying, "You're doing something wrong." And they say, "You're being violent." They're being violent. And they're saying, "I'm not going to argue with you." They're arguing with you. whatever they say, the opposite is true. That is the general alcoholic. The opposite is true. You're a bad person, but really, I'm a bad person. Right? That's how you know it's a cult. This is all about unconditional love. Oh, well, if that's supposed to be a good thing, then everything good has conditions. I don't come out here and think I can walk unconditionally in all weather. And all of life on earth has conditions. Heaven has conditions. You're not going to be just a blur of grease-streaked lightning moving from the various tremulous and limpid pools of pure human fantasy, of vacuoles of the celestial densities of the evil spirit of all creation. And you might, but I doubt that that's all it's going to be. But it has limits, doesn't it? It has limits. You're not going to be all things in heaven and earth at the same time, are you? Something different is happening every day, even in heaven. Something is always changing. Something staying the same. But not much. But everything, really, that's essential, stays the same. Many things are said to change, but all that is essential is changeless. The second one showed up. Amazing. As I said that, right? All that is essential never changes. That's why it's essential that you recognize what's essential. Build as much of it into your life as possible, because it's a long-living, strengthening sort of thing. When people are hurt, it forces you into what is essential, because it's all that sustains you. It might be essential to keep breathing. It might be essential, to think positively. It might be essential to go seek medical care. Right? But what helps us survive is what's essential. But when other things become essential that involve feeding on people, that's a psychosis. That's because what is essential has been perverted. The person is disoriented to what is essential. Judgment. Right? And it's very complicated to judge such situations. Magic. They reverse, they inflict, they accuse. Everything is backwards from the way you think it should be, which is like most TV shows. Everything is reversed and backwards, even the gender, right? Morals, everything is reversed all the time. Anyway, ask yourself this. Even the best TV characters are always lying. So what do you know about someone who's lying? That no matter how much good they're doing, they're actually not doing any good at all. Right? People who are doing good don't have to lie. Right? People who are doing good know the truth. They are not misinformed. As much as people have millions of hours on this earth to make sure you are truthful and truthfully informed, right? Nobody should really be lying about anything, should they? And yet here we are. It's like goose feather. South end of the medicine wheel. Childhood. This is the seal. I was wondering where you were. Spirit of the ocean. Wow. Oh, it's sacred. Let's leave the feather here. There you go. Oh, swim well, great spirit. Do we not all have many other deeps to go to? Is that is we are found pure in the judgment of the all-powerful Father. We simply have other places to go. Always have somewhere to go. These are flies. Doing their thing. Heron over there. Oh, this heron moved away. Just moved away. Didn't go all the way away. Just gave me a little space. Nice. We all moved around each other. Around the corner we go. Feelings talking about my feet. Yeah, it troubles my heart. And it's very illuminating once things get late enough for someone to be uninhibited enough and schooled enough, trained enough, compelled enough, and socialized enough to know that they can get away with unprovoked sexual aggression to another suspecting gender in front of witnesses. And I've had front row seats to being objectified in this way at critical juncture while involved with human beings under various contexts. Mostly environments where you would typically assume would be quite positive and peaceful. And what I learned is that in ways that I might not be able to prove to the average person over coffee, groups of people and white people, especially with the prevalence of women, are never going to be peaceful. Not as long as these compulsions live and stir like parasites and lesions in the human generative processes and labors thereof, which are either from death and to death, or from life and to life. The first and longest labor must be about life, or it must be about death. And you could study any human behavior in any culture and say, is this a labor first and longest about life and creation, or is it first and longest about destruction and deception? In as much as, there's always been black magic in the world. There's war because there's black magic. Without black magic, there would be no war. There would be no suffering, as we understand it. Humans suffer because of black magic. Make no mistake. It's not because of original sin, right? It's because original sin is black magic, okay? It's not because of just the way genetics works out. It's because genetics is involved with black magic, okay? So I'll just leave you with that. Let's keep going.